We'll start off with the interview or more or less a discussion with sir. Sir, how the first question every guy asks an architect is, how did you get into this field? What made you think of choosing architecture?
Well, to be very honest, this was way back, right? Way before you guys were even born. So I honestly didn't know that there was a profession called architecture. I mean, I knew there were people who designed buildings, but I didn't know that there was a profession called architecture. And I think I used to draw really well, so I used to be able to go to a competition, like a painting competition, and win like pretty much the first prize without any problems. So that's all I knew. So I love to draw, I love to sketch, I love to make sculptures, all of those, but I never really thought of architecture as a profession. So I was, I think, aiming for engineering, like everybody else. Turns out I did really badly in my engineering entrance examination back then. And then I was panicking.
Oh.
I was panicking because my friends were going up to IIT, Pilani, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, what do I do? Then one of my school seniors, somebody said, you should talk to him. He's doing this course called architecture. And I'm like, okay, whatever I can do. So I went to him and then found out that there is this thing. My only reference to architecture was I knew the word. This is way back. We're talking about 1988. So I knew the word. I knew that there was a profession called architecture, but I never really knew what they did. I thought it was something to do with archaeology, like they went and discovered old temples. Because when the only reference I had was in the history books where it said, during Akbar's reign, art and architecture and music flourished. So I was like, oh, architecture is something to do with historic buildings. Anyway, somehow, so I met this guy and he's like, yeah, this will be perfect for you, dude. You should do this. So I applied and wrote the entrance and aced it and then I got in. So yeah, it's not like I was sitting there dreaming that I wanted to be an architect, but I definitely, if I were given a chance, I would probably do something in the creative realm, even as a kid. But I don't think we had that luxury to dream that way when we were younger. So yeah, it's purely by coincidence that I got into architecture in that sense. So yeah, it wasn't a plan.
Sir, could you just tell me about your journey from winning sketching prizes to being here with your own firm and
so the journey, like I said, I really enjoyed drawing as far back as I can think. Like the earliest was probably 3-4 years. I never stopped drawing. I used to draw. I would hide and draw because you were forbidden from drawing because you're supposed to study math and science and all that. So I would draw. I was some kids are famous for being good at sports, some people in school, some people are famous for academics. My only claim to fame in the school was, oh, this guy can draw. So that was my identity. I wasn't like extraordinarily bright when it came to academics, but everybody recognized me as, oh, this guy can draw really well. So that was my identity and I kind of thrived on that, I guess. But after I got into architecture school, the first semester was a little scary. You started off with basic design and I was confused because you're essentially asked to create compositions with triangles and I'm like, okay, what do I do with a bunch of triangles? Then they say do this and do that, and I was really confused. And I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be really good at drawing, and why is this so confusing to me? So I pretty much, was like a little lost in the first semester. Come second semester, we had this amazing guy who taught us basic design. And his name is Shankar Narayan, God bless his soul. He's still alive. He's a very young architect actually. His way of teaching was really good. I started really getting it. And then he gave us one composition which was called a tensile composition. And essentially, you do a bunch of masses with some thread or cable and create a composition. This is second semester basic design. And I did something that, and he was very hard to please. So he would give you like, if he really liked your work, you would get like 6 out of 10. So, and his standards were very high. He was a very good teacher, very young at that time, probably just out of college. But yeah, so I did my composition and he gave me 10 out of 10. So for me, that was it. Like I remember distinctly walking back from the staff room towards the studio and saying, I got this. So for me, that was a seminal moment, if I have to make it dramatic. But it truly is. And then from there, it was no turning back as far as I was concerned. I was like, I'm gonna show them, like, I really know what design is now. So I grew in confidence, and I really, really loved every bit of it in college. We had very little information regarding international styles. We used to have a library that was pretty good. There was no internet, obviously, back then. So we used to depend on the few journals we got in the library. We grew up on a wholesome diet of Le Corbusier and Mies, pretty much. We loved everything about the modern movement, despised everything about postmodernism. And then so we did amazing stuff. I mean, some of the work I've done in my second year gives me chills even now. It's stunning, if I can say that. But it's probably my best work, even for years. Then I went to grad school. It was okay. I expected too much from grad school. It wasn't what I expected. It's not like you go to grad school and you come out like super smart. It was underwhelming, to say the least. But it was good. I specialized in urban design and environment behavior and place studies, which essentially builds on the concept that environment impacts behavior. Did that, went on to work for a firm in Kansas City. I was the youngest guy. I was 25, 26. The star, everybody used to fight for me. I think we got some girls here from the college. It was like a 60-person firm, and they would all fight for me to work on their projects because I would just sit there and sketch. That was my job, to just kind of sketch. It was kind of really, for me, it really allowed me to gain in confidence, right? I was like, wow. And anything I did, my bosses loved. And I used to go to, like that age, I used to go to clients, listen, come back, sketch, do watercolors. I mean, it was just the beginning of 3D modeling. So we had a software called FormZ. I used to use it a little bit, but mostly hand sketches, watercolors, like big renders, blah, 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 work all night. Work like crazy, like 60 hours a week was the norm. But I loved what I did. So I was like the star of the office. And then I went on to take another job in LA. At 28, I moved to LA and I was a design director for a firm that was like 40 architects. So for me, that was like, wow, I've arrived. Which obviously made my head big and probably a little arrogant because I was like, okay, I made it in America. I'm a design director. There's a bunch of white people reporting to me and all that. But that was not, it was fun. We did some amazing projects there as well, like 3-4 really good projects. It lasted 2 years, but I realized that I needed a lot. I needed to learn a lot because I was focusing more on design. So my job would involve coming in the morning, sketching, impressing, and everybody would go, wow, that's amazing, and I would like feel really good about it and then go home. But then when somebody asked me, how do you put it together, I was like, I don't know. So I realized that I was totally lacking in the technical knowledge that goes into making a building. So I realized that and I was like, oh my God, this is not good. Because when a contractor would ask me like, okay, that's a wonderful sketch, how do you build it? Clueless. So I moved to San Francisco in 2000. the year 2000, and I decided to work with a firm that allowed me to do concept, like the competition to win the project. We won it, then I did concept, then I did DDs, SD, drawings, and then I stayed on during construction. So I was able to see the entire process. And I hated it because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be sketching, but then I realized I should learn all these things. And I learned building code. I read the book back to back, cover to cover. I learned to start detailing and understanding how buildings are put together. Then my next job was at SOM, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, where I worked for 8 years, and that was again, I mean, they call it finishing school. It's like one of the best firms in the world. People don't walk, you run. Like, you don't waste even 1 second. You just see kids darting around. So that's like an intense environment. You come at 10 o'clock and you don't leave till 2 a.m. or something. Did that for 8 years. Intense. But there again, I managed to work on a lot of interesting projects in China, Middle East, America, from start to finish, from concept to completion. So that gave me a really good idea of how to put buildings together. Then I moved to Gensler as a design director in San Francisco and did some fun projects. Then Gensler wanted to open an office in India. In 2012, I moved to India to help set up the office for Gensler in India, in Bangalore. So that's how I ended up in Bangalore. And I was happy living in the US, but around 2010-ish, I started getting really restless. I was like, okay, I'm meant to do amazing things. I'm born to do like this, change the world. But here I am, like, going to work, having lunch, coming back, doing good projects. There has to be more to life. I want to go where it matters. I want to go to. So, for the longest time, I would never want to return to India. But then suddenly something happened, and I couldn't get the fact that I need to leave and come back to India. It was eating me. I was like crumbling inside. And I was trying to convince my wife to come, and she was like, no. So finally in 2012, when Gensler asked me to come and help open the office, I moved to India without her. And she stayed back, and I came and helped set up Gensler. We grew it to 100 people in the next 4 years. For me, it was like a startup, hiring people, deciding where the flower vase goes, building the office, marketing, deciding which projects to go after. We were working with big clients because Gensler is global clients. Novartis and Accenture and Coca-Cola and LinkedIn and all these big guys. It's fun, we work on high-profile projects in India. But then I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. And we were doing mostly workplace, office interiors, because that's what Gensler decided they would focus on for the first few years. I was like, no, I want to do something more, and I wanted to start my own office. But I was scared as hell because I'd never done business in my life. I'd never been on my own. The idea that, okay, I'm going to open the door, put a desk, and say it's an office, and what if nobody comes? Scary. So, but somehow I gathered the courage to do it because I was like, okay, I'm 40, I'm running out of time. I was already 45. I'm running out of time, if not now, when? So I kicked myself in my ass and I got out and started Studio Chintala. And right next door, that's our old office, original office. This is just new, about 6 months old. So yeah, luckily, when I left Gensler, like 30 people put their hand up and said, we want to go with you. But of course I didn't have any projects. So I said, sorry guys, I don't have any projects, I'm going to go get started. But as we started building, several people from Gensler came and joined us. And we still have them. And then we started and I thought, oh, I'm a star. I came from the US, I have 22 years experience in the States, I worked at the world's best firms, I designed the world. Second tallest building, piece of cake. India will be at my feet. No. So there's a lot of dishonesty in India, especially in the construction industry. We got cheated left, right, and center. Builders will come to you, they'll take your drawing, then not pick up your phone call. So, and we would trust everybody. We would be like, oh, there's a project, we want to build a mall, oh, exciting, wow, work all night. We're working like dogs, like, we were like, at that time we were like 10 people or so, and we would work like, we'd have toothbrushes in the office. We just wake up, brush, work. Like, I don't think anybody can imagine how hard we worked. And they would take our designs and disappear. And we were so naive that we didn't know we should get the money. And I never worked in India, let alone done business in India. So for me, I was like, why are these people all cheating us? So the first 2, maybe 3 years were traumatic. I mean, scary. Like, we were doing amazing work, but we were get taken for a ride. So a lot of unprofessionalism in India. And, turns out we position ourselves saying, okay, we are the Mercedes-Benz of architecture. We do the best design in the country, so we'll charge you this fee. I quickly learned that it doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter what you did in America, what you did, you pretty much have to start from zero. So I think that was a rude awakening, and we said, okay. And you can't say I'll charge 400 rupees a square foot when everybody else is charging 100 rupees, even though you think you're worth it. You say, okay, tone down, put your head down. And so we said, okay, we'll build, because you have to build. You can't stand in a pedestal and say, I'm cool, and nobody cares. So we said, okay, we'll compete with the rest of them. And we came down and we said, okay, we'll work for 100 rupees, we'll work for 30 rupees, we'll work for 40 rupees. And we won't talk about our history and laurels and past. We'll start from zero. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares if you were a star in America. They say, what do you build in India? I said, okay, fine. So we started. That was like a big awakening. And we started from ground up. Put your head down. I started working, and one project after the other. We did amazing work. I think we've done a body of work that's, I think, is amazing. Our work is not gimmicky. We don't do silly, flamboyant crap. We do what is meaningful, and we've been extremely fortunate that clients have been supportive. We learned to engage with the right clients. We learned to stay away from the crooks, and we still are not perfect, but we've come a long way, and we've understood how to work and in India. But clients have been amazing. Clients are really very open-minded to new ideas that we propose. We've been very, very. I think it's the way we talk to them. We rationalize everything. We justify our ideas. I think in a way where they truly understand it, and that's key. I think if they understand that you're on their side, then more often than not they will go with you. So I think we do a good job of explaining to clients why we do what we do, and that allows us the freedom to do what we want to do, which is good design. So yeah, now we are 70 people, offices in Hyderabad, Vijayawada, San Francisco, and Bangalore. So yeah, that's the journey.
It is actually a very inspirational story. And while you were taking seminar for us in our college, you even told us that it was not the same thing. It was something similar, which told achievements don't make me an architect. What I've experienced is what has made me what I am today. And as Sir spoke about his journey, he didn't mention any of his achievements. For example, the Gensler Award which he received, and also I think you even won the Vice Chancellor's Gold Medal in your while you were studying also. Sir, one of my question is, when a student architect has graduated and he starts getting experience and starts working in firms, there is one project which gives him a boost, which tells him that yeah, this is what he'll do. What is that project for you, or what construction or what project that you did will had made you think that yeah, this is how I'm doing it and this is how I'll go.
I don't think so. I don't entirely agree. I mean, there is a moment in your life where you come to terms with yourself, where you feel good, and you really truly are able to sort of get in the zone. I think it's true about every creative profession, dance and music and art, and I think there wasn't one project that said, okay, this is going to be my career path, or there were a lot of interesting projects. But also I hated the work I was doing in America for the first 6-7 years, because it was the tail end of postmodernism. Do you know what postmodernism is? Yeah, I mean, there was a style of architecture that prevailed from, I think, the 80s through late 90s, and even I think in late 70s, I forget. But anyway, it was really bad architecture in my opinion. Taking motifs from history, Roman architecture and Greek architecture, and throwing in some. And because I grew up on a staple diet, like I said, of pure modernism, and here I am in America, supposed to be the forefront of technology and design and all of that, and the firms that I was working at were doing postmodernism, and I didn't relate with it, but I was doing it because that was what was demanded of me, and I first resisted it, and then I realized this is what they want. Oh, I can give you what you want. So I was giving them what I want, what they wanted, but I wasn't feeling good. I was like, this is not right. Architecture shouldn't be convoluted and blah 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 blah. But I did it because I was thinking, okay, if Americans are asking for it, maybe that's the right thing. So I was very confused. For many years, I think 5 years, I was like, what the heck is happening here? I was doing really well because I knew how to do even that, but I wasn't necessarily, my soul wasn't feeling good. Until I moved to San Francisco, and then I started working at SOM, and luckily postmodernism was kicked out by then, early 2000s. And then I realized, oh my God. So for me, that was like a very, very confusing, I want to say 6, 7, 8 years, maybe even 10 years. 8 years, 6 years, maybe 7 years. So finally when I realized, SOM, we were doing modern, clean, beautiful buildings. I was like, okay, sanity is restored. I wasn't crazy. My ideas were valid all along. It was just a blip on the radar. Somehow there was this crazy phase where I was thrown into thinking that something else was right. During that phase we did actually in LA I did one project where I was a design director at small firm, 40-person firm, and it was a competition. We won it, and I think that project was really appreciated. And if I have to pick a project, that would be the one that really restored my faith in modernism and the fact that it has an audience. Modernism still is alive, and that probably is. But for me, I think the most important event was what I described in my college, right? In my first year, where I did that composition, and I felt like I understood what design is. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, there's a lot of projects we're doing that are all fun, but maybe that's the one that probably restored my faith in modernism.
As soon as you took the seminar for us in our college, you said, designing something is to find solutions, and the beauty and the aesthetics follow up after you find the solutions and design it. I believe that is your design philosophy, or that is what your works are based on. How does it influence what you design for? Like when you start, when you have a project and you have to start it, they've given, the client might have given something that which relates with the project, and with your design philosophy being that finding solutions and giving out the plan, and then the beauty follows it, the aesthetics follows it. How does that influence your work?
Well, I mean, yeah, that is our philosophy. I think I've said it many times, and perhaps in the presentation there as well. I mean, look, architecture is not so complex. Architecture is not art. Okay, I strongly believe there is a place for art. Art is something that stirs your mind, makes you think, makes you smile, makes you cry. So art is definitely got a place in society. Every art form, whether it's visual art or performing art, music, dance, whatever. Art is beautiful, but architecture, I think a lot of times students and society, in fact, media, I think confuses architecture with art. Architecture has got a purpose. It's primarily shelter. At the very core level, it's shelter. Yeah, beyond that, it's a school, it's a beautiful school, it's an urban school, it's a visible school, whatever. I mean, depending on the project type, it has other roles to play. But fundamentally, a school is a place where you learn. A bunch of kids go in the morning, teachers teach, they come back home. So there is a purpose for the building. It's not about, oh, I have a dream, I want to build this school. It's about the kids. So for me, there is some architects say, oh, I am inspired by the context, I am inspired by the materials, I am inspired by history, I am inspired by sustainability, the new crazy silliness. Human-centric design. What is human-centric? Of course, we're not designing for dogs. So I don't understand all those things. So some people say, oh, I'm inspired by the juxtaposition of the past and the future and curves and blah. For us, it's the kids in the school. They're coming to the school, they better have a really good experience. When they grow up to be adults, they want to think back about school and feel really good about that space. For us, it's about the teacher being able to impart the knowledge to the students in an environment that is enriching. Context, materiality, and sustainability, history, past, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they matter, but they are not. For us, it's that kid in the school. As I said, we put up a picture of a kid from the school and we say, okay, Mahesh, roll number 22, sits in the third row near the window. What does Mahesh want from the school? Not what I want, not what he wants, not what you want. And that's our process.
So, usually I don't listen much to seminars which happen in our college. Like, none of us are really interested when an architect comes and starts telling about his projects and everything. But when you came, you started off with the thing which I told earlier. Achievements doesn't make an architect. My experiences and what made me this. And I really felt intimidated when you spoke about the second tallest building in the world and your involvement in that. Could you please tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean it's in China, and Gensler, Shanghai. So Gensler has an office in Shanghai, as you know. Gensler has some 55 offices. So Gensler has an office in Shanghai, and the Shanghai office designed what is called the Shanghai Tower, which is probably the third, fourth, fifth, some tallest building. It's pretty tall and it's quite beautiful. And I think by virtue of that, they got another project called Suzhou Tower, which the owner of the building is the third richest guy in China. He wanted to be able to say he owns the tallest tower in China or Asia. Yeah, China, because Burj is in Asia, so in China. And so he commissioned Gensler to build the tallest building in China, which would be the second tallest building in the world. So yeah, Gensler Shanghai team tried to design it. They designed most of it, but there were parts of the building that he wasn't happy with. So he's like, no, I don't want to work with you guys. So then Gensler brought people from Chicago, Gensler Chicago office. They came on a plane to Shanghai, did the design and showed it to him, and they said, I don't like you. I don't want to see you guys again. So the guy is the third richest guy, idiosyncratic, very eccentric. And so they said, okay. And then they bought Gensler LA, and same thing, Gensler London, and same thing. For some reason, they were not able to crack a couple of challenges. I don't want to get into the details of the technicalities, but there were parts of the building that were, I think, not cracked by these teams. And he was just dismissing teams after teams. And yeah, so Gensler was like scratching their head, like, oh my God, what do we do? This guy is not, we're unable to satisfy his expectations. So then, obviously, I was sitting here in Bangalore, but obviously I came from SOM, which means I had a lot of high-rise, what they call super tall, tall, super tall, buildings over 500 meters experience. So they were like, okay, well, let's ask the Bangalore team, ask Diwakar or whatever. And so because they're like, okay, everything's now pretty much not working, so what does it matter? Let's ask these guys. It doesn't hurt to ask them. I think that was kind of the approach they took. And they're like, hey, there's a tall building in Shanghai. I was already here in Bangalore, so can you guys come and work on it? So we said, okay. So we packed our bags. I made a team of 3-4 people from the Bangalore office, and we flew to Shanghai. And we understood the problem, and we heard the history, and we heard that the guy didn't like any of the previous ideas and options, and he was eccentric, blah blah blah. And we said, okay, let's try to take a fresh look at this and see if we can come up with something very different, and we did. And we went to meet him, and the guy is like, he's the third richest guy. He's a rags to riches. He was a construction worker many years back, and now he's the third richest guy in China. He was getting a full body massage when we went to present. He doesn't even lift his head, and he doesn't even look at you, and he's lying down, and they're giving him a massage, and you're presenting. And we're presenting in English. There's a translator. Anyway, long story short, he lifted his head and he saw what we had rendered, and then he's like, so in the first attempt he loved it. So they were all like, oh my God, you guys saved the day. So the Bangalore team sort of managed to make him happy. So because we took an entirely different approach to some of the challenges of the building. So they said, yeah, you guys stay here and design this. So we started from scratch. Stayed here for a year and a half or so. Designed it and it's under construction, but like all big projects, it's COVID and all that, but it's happening.
This is a very interesting topic. There's a recent trend about AI taking over jobs. I personally feel that AI wouldn't take over architecture as of yet, because it might have the capability to draw out plans, but I don't think it can recognize human emotions, client's emotions, or whatever the client wants. I think it still needs a third phase AI which can recognize human emotions. But what do you feel about it, sir?
I mean, kind of similar. Yeah, I mean, it's, there's many schools of thought about what AI can do. Some people compare it with, oh, you used to write with your hand and the type machine came. What did it do? It didn't kill you. You only used it as a tool. Then the computer came and everybody said, oh my God, computer is going to take over. But computer became a tool that humans used to do their tasks faster. So then there's AI, the next big revolution. Now, the internet was a big revolution because for the first time in the palm of your hand, you had every imaginable data available to you. You could talk to your friends on a chat across the planet. You could find out the score for a match in New York. You could Google symptoms and understand what's wrong with you. You can do so many things, but did it eliminate the need for a doctor? No, it didn't. So the internet, they said, oh, is going to change everything. It did. It made things a lot more comfortable, if you will, but it didn't change. So AI, the one theory that you're sort of espousing is AI will only make things faster, smarter, but still the human element, the human emotions on that, only a human can recognize. Fair enough, I think I kind of subscribe to that. And architecture is about emotions, it's not just about a plan. So, sure, to that point, yes. But it's also quite interesting that there is no emotion I think it'll be, I don't know if I can, even if there is emotion, or at least seemingly emotion, to get a soul into a piece of hardware, I don't know if it'll ever happen. But AI can solve problems. The beauty of AI, the reason they say it's when mankind invented fire, that was like a seminal moment. When they invented the wheel, that was a big moment. And when they invented the internet, that was a big moment. And then the next big thing is AI. Because AI has the ability to learn. That's what's interesting about AI. It's not just intelligence from data. Because then you have to give it data and it gets smart. But it's got the intelligence to take the data and think and then become intelligent, and then machine learning or machines can actually learn on their own because it's exponential. To that point, AI might be very powerful. Will it replace architects? I doubt it, for the reasons we talked. But it will make a lot of tasks much simpler. And there may be some tasks where you don't need architects, like designing a parking lot, right, which an architect will do, trying to fit the most cars, providing the right clearance, make sure turning radius is right, blah, blah, blah. AI could perhaps do it better because of the ability to compute every permutation and combination. We do that. We do that in Grasshopper in our office. We already use computational design. And you can see the human can only think of so many options. The computer can think of a lot more. So the truth is, will it replace humans? To do a parking garage, yes. To do a house, maybe not, right? Because it can fit more cars than I can, perhaps, because it's got the computation power to try different purposes. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that you will never be able to replicate the emotions and those kind of qualities in a building, but there are certain things it can do really well.
Well, the item is book of pattern recognition, which we spoke in our class. It was written and by an architect himself called Alexander. I don't think
Christopher Alexander.
I think so.
Pattern language.
Yeah, pattern language and recognition. I don't think AI might replace us soon. He's the Prometheus right now for AI. Yeah, you guys have any questions?
So like how do you convince the clients about your design? Like if you have a specific principle, specific philosophy, so how do you convince them your principle in terms
There is no principle to convince. There is a goal, and the client's goal is what you care for. So typically a client will say, I want a research center, it has to be the best in the country, people should come here and be inspired. This is what clients tell you, right? If it's a research center, or if it's a house, they'll say, blah, 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 I want my children to be happier, I want them to come back from vacation when they're in college and feel good. They tell you a bunch of things. You have to listen to them, right? Because it's their house, it's their research center. You can't say, wait a minute, I have a concept. You have to listen to them. So,
sometimes it happens that like you would want to go like you told you didn't like postmodernism, so like they would want that.
exactly. So there is a chance. That was my biggest fear coming to India is, what if I'm designing a house and the owner says, let me show you a house in my neighborhood. Can you do exactly that? And it's like postmodern, with like arches and gold and all that. What would happen if we do that? If somebody comes to us and says that, then what will we do? So it was my biggest fear, but to date we haven't had that, except one project which we walked away from. It was like a 300 crore big project we walked away from. It happened. But that was only one project in the last 7 years. We've had all kinds of project clients from all backgrounds, so many cities that come with different ideas, but we talk to them. That is the difference. So we say, somebody comes and says, I want a house like this. And we say, okay, sure, but why? They're like, what do you mean why? I want this. No, that's okay, we totally get it, but let's talk about why. Oh, because my son loves to see the rain. Okay, great. So fine. And I like this. I grew up in a house with these columns and arches. I want a house with columns and arches. And we say, okay, fine, that's wonderful. I'm glad that you actually connect with built environment. What did you like about the columns? And it felt very grand. So what you like is grandiose and grandeur. That's what you like in a house. Yeah, but columns are grand. Okay, fine. You like grandeur. You want your house to be grand. Yes, because I worked very hard all my life and I made all this money and I want my house to look like it's grand. I want people to come and see. That's why I want columns with arches. Okay, and I want a lot of decoration and cornices and blah, blah, blah. We say, okay, fine. But what you really want to do through that is grandeur. You want to show you arrived. You want to show that you really made a lot of money and you're successful. That's what you want. Yes. Okay, Mr. X, there's many ways to do that. You want to show grandeur. You don't have to replicate a building from the Roman era or Greek era. We can definitely create grandeur. There's many ways to do grandeur. And we believe architecture should represent the current times and not be a nostalgic memory of some past. So let's talk about what grandeur means today, shall we? No, just make arches. No, but arches have been done and cornices have been done. Let's make a grand house that you want that represents today, 2023. Okay, alright, let's do it. Let's see. And that's where we are successful. We finally told him it's not the arches he loves, it's the grandeur that he associates with the arches that he loves. Right? And we said, okay, we will show you grandeur that is meaningful and relevant to the materials and the times that we are in today. And that's where our skill comes in, and we show him a modern grand space, double height, nice materials, nice volumes and nice proportions. He goes, wow, that's really grand. You want it grand, right, Mr. X? Yeah. Is this grand for you? Absolutely. Original, it's new, it's fresh, it's today, it's relevant, it's using the best materials, it's cheaper than those arches and cornices, and it's grander, and people will come and say, wow, this is grand, it looks like a palace. Instead of that, they'll say it's grand and looks amazing. Do you want this? I think I want this. Okay, Mr. X, let's do this. So that's where we are successful. When people say, I want this, and it happens, we say, sure, we'll do that. But first tell us, what is it that you like about that? Okay, so we don't believe architecture should be replica of, architecture is not recreating history. Paying homage to history doesn't mean you have to replicate it. Paying homage to history means you respect history, but your job is to design for the present, right? So that's what we do. We've done it very successfully. I think every client comes with some crazy request, which we are like, oh my God, we don't do that kind of stuff. It's against our values. But we don't panic. We go, okay, that's fine. Tell us what you really do. So we talk, we engage a lot. We make them open up and talk about what is it they like beyond what meets the eye. You understand what I'm saying? You're convinced? So that's the thing that I think we found that, because we wonder too, like every client is listening to us. As in we're having our way. It's surprising. But then we realize why is that happening is because we talk to them. And when they realize that you're on their side, they trust you. You don't have your own agenda. It's not like, okay, I did a lot of wood buildings, now I want to do a steel building, so this building shall be steel. No. Well, that's my own personal crusade. The minute they see that, they'll be like, you're looking after your own personal interest. Here we're not. We're saying we want to listen to you. We want to respond to what you want. When they know you're on their side, when they know that you're listening to them, they will trust you. And they'll be like, after a while, they'll be like, Studio Chintala, you do whatever you want. We trust you so much that we know you understand what we want, you do what you want.
So as you just said that you have been working in US for a longest time till 2012. So what do you think about the cultural differences about the people thinking and their ways of thinking in US compared to in India?
It's a loaded question, but I mean, the US is very unique in that it's a country of immigrants. It's a country of where everybody from everywhere on the planet came there. If somebody was persecuted in Saudi Arabia, they ran away and came to the US to start a life fresh. Somebody was not having it well in China, they came to America. Somebody graduated from an architecture school in India and went to America. So America is a place of opportunity, America is a place of immigrants, America is a place of people wanting to do amazing things. It's a melting pot. We know all that. So they don't have the burden and the baggage of history. They always say, why can't we do this? So there is that attitude about, here they say, why can't we do this? No, it's not done that way.
There's a lot of involvement of Vastu Shastra also involved here.
Yeah, so here Vastu, your history, sometimes they become a baggage. And America has this attitude like, why can't you do this? You can do it. So there is a very experimental approach to things where they're constantly questioning the status quo and saying there is no tradition to follow, only tradition is inventiveness and so on and so on. So there's something very youthful about America as a culture, where they don't get tied down by rules, and because there are no rules, everybody is there from different cultures, they're all bringing their own ideas and everybody wants to do something amazing. So that's the probably the reason for America's domination globally in all realms, most realms. But also that's their cause for downfall, because they're like a teenager. Teenagers are full of energy, they're good looking, they're, lot of enthusiasm, but at the same time, you can also fall on your face because of the enthusiasm, right? So, what makes America beautiful? They don't have uniforms in school. Why? Because why? Why should you have a uniform? You're not cattle. Why should everybody dress the same? Express yourself. Be your own person. So, on the one hand, you get to express yourself in school. On the other hand, you also get, other problems. Now, somebody wore, a guy didn't show up in a shirt, he showed up in a tank top. Okay, so there is an issue there. So again, on the one hand he's able to express himself, on the other hand he's causing discomfort for his fellow classmates because he's barely dressed. So it depends. America, that's the irony of America. It's beautiful, it's also scary. But now to come to India, but America is also, funnily enough, driven by capitalism. So 95% of American or 98% of American houses are built by builders, developers. Very few people build their own house. Here you buy a piece of land, hire an architect, you build your house. It doesn't work like that. America, you buy a house that was designed by a company that owns acres and acres and one architect. And so in America, if you go around America, all the houses look the same. In India, it's beautiful. Client comes, I want this, I saw this grandmother's house, my grandmother's house was like this, I want to put marble on it. So in a way, India is beautiful in the sense that people are a lot more, capitalism is not that powerful here. Keep people, and in India I think now there is a certain sense of experimentation, especially in the realm of architecture. Everybody wants something unique, everybody wants. So I find India quite exciting right now. Culturally also, we are questioning a lot of things. And India is interesting in that we also accept new cultures. Hip hop, oh yeah, all of a sudden Bollywood has got hip hop. Oh, Mexican music, okay, all of a sudden Mexican music. Salsa, all of a sudden Bollywood do salsa. So we're very accepting of new cultures in that sense that we're always in awe of everything from outside, but it's a good thing. So I think we are in interesting times where young people are questioning the status quo. They are breaking rules. So in a way, I think we are sort of seeing a revolution in the sense that people are very broad-minded, we're opening up. So yeah, I mean, in some ways, India is, funnily enough, even though I said all those amazing things about America, India is a more exciting place to be an architect. Because clients are asking for crazy, amazing things.
It does also involve a lot of superstitious beliefs, like they might get an astrologer and ask that.
They do. I mean, every project we work on, every project, I dare say, not so much in Bangalore, but in Hyderabad, which is where a lot of our projects are. Any of the Telugu states, to Bangalore also to a certain extent, but Hyderabad, Telangana, Andhra, for sure, there is a Vastu factor. Now you can either fight it, because I don't believe in Vastu. I mean, I don't know anything about Vastu to believe in it. I don't. But I say, look, if something survived 10,000 years, there's probably some relevance. I mean, people are not stupid. If they were, they would have kicked it out. But I also lived in America where there is no such thing. You know, if the door is in the wrong place, Microsoft's office is probably anti-Vastu, but they're successful. Elon Musk's house is probably anti-Vastu, but he's the richest guy on the planet. So I've seen that and I go, what is all this? Like, you know, but we don't fight it. It's okay, it's fun. Bring it on. Like, I have a Nala here, I have the west side hitting sun on my facade, I got a tree in the middle of my plot that I don't want to kill, I got a site that is not as looking into a slum. So many challenges on a project. And oh, by the way, I have this thing called Vastu which tells me I have to have the bedroom on the side. Okay, fine, bring it on. We will solve them. Vastu is just another one of those challenges. I'm not gonna fight it, not because I'm a loser, because I enjoy it. Enjoy the challenge of, okay, the bedroom has to be here, but I still want to do this, I want to bring that. Okay, now put your heads to it. So for us, it's like, cool, nice, fun, challenge. Let's take it. Bedroom has to be here, kitchen has to be here, damn, stair has to be here, and the entry has to face this side, the number of doors has to be even, toilets have to face south or north. Oh my goodness. And in spite of that, how can we make groundbreaking, kick-ass design? We won't complain, we're not wimps. We're not going, oh, Vastu, I can't do, it's impeding my... Big deal, you know, get over it. That's my attitude, get over it, come on, grow up. It's okay. That is an excuse for not... I mean, there's so many things. If there's an Nala going with a stinky smell in front of your plot, what will you do? Will you say, oh, there's an Nala, I'm not working on this project? I will figure out a way to cut the smell, okay, turn it into an opportunity. I don't know. Same thing with Vastu. We go, okay, there's an Nala, there's Vastu, there's this, there's a client who's stingy, there's a client who's rude, there's a contractor who's incompetent. We will still make amazing architecture.
So sometimes when we do 3D rendering, so it looks really good, right? So when we incorporate that and like actual building is built, so there will be a slight difference. So what if the client thinks that it's not according to the 3D rendering, or if he wants something like a wood finish or something, and then in the end he tells you that he wants this, and then when you get it and he tells no, I don't want.
Firstly, this. Again, client don't tell us what they want. Client, they won't say put wood here. They'll say I want warmth, and we say no, warmth historically comes from wood, because when you put a lot of wood, it gives you a sense of warmth. So we decide what finish comes. We tell the client, what do you want? So firstly, it's not what the client says. Secondly, if a render is looking a certain way and the finished product is not, our finished products look better than the renders. It's because you have to be realistic in your renders. You know, we don't do something because it's looking fun and fancy. We do it because we believe in it and we know what we are building. We know what materials we are using. And we know how it should look in a render, and we know how it will look in real. So we seldom overdo it in the render because we do exactly what is buildable. That comes from experience and knowledge of materials and all that. So our buildings look better than the renders. So we have never that problem. And we don't have clients saying, you said this but this, because we know what we are doing. And clients trust us. Because they're like, okay, if you gave it to me, you build so much trust. If your mother says, when you were a kid, don't eat this, you would say, oh, my mom is saying this, maybe she's right. Why? Because your mom is supposedly interested in your well-being. Would you say, wait a minute, my mom is saying this, I think she's trying to be sinister. No, you trust. We build that trust with the client. And if we say, Mr. Raju, this is the right thing, they're like, okay, thank you, we trust you, if you say so. So we don't have those problems of rendering, We don't cheat with renders. We don't try to make anything pretty with renders. It is what it is, so the question doesn't really apply to us.
I'm not proud of it, and I'm not saying anybody should follow that, but I love what I do, and I can't get enough of it. So for me, sleeping is like, oh damn, I have to sleep. I wish I could work. So I just wake up and I can't wait to come to work. But I'm an anomaly. So don't go by that. So I mean, of course I like to, go for a coffee with a friend. It's not, but I would still be thinking about work. So little weird. So I think it's not something I would recommend. I think you should have a balanced life. You should go out with your friends and see places. And one thing I would love to do is travel. I like seeing new places. I would love to. But right now I don't have the time. I don't have the luxury. At least I think I don't. So yeah, I mean, no personal life. I don't care for my family. I don't care. I go after everybody is dead. My father died, I go 2 hours after he's dead. I was not there. My sister died, I go after she's dead. Too selfish. So, too obsessed with design. So, not a good influence there.
So as you said, you like traveling. Is there anything that you have learned in a particular country and you like?
100%. You learn a lot of things. Every country, every city, every village. I'll go. I mean, in India, travel within India, you learn a lot of things. I mean, there's no way you can say. No, it's not just going to Portugal and learning something, because anywhere. I mean, you can go to a village in India and see something and say, wow, that's how they solve their problem.
Is there anything that you practice in your own designs, like most of your designs?
Absolutely. Every influence, I can't name them, but there's always, something you've seen somewhere or something you've seen on Arch Daily or Instagram, that influences you. And I mean, there's nothing shameful about learning from what other people have done. We look at a lot of examples of what everybody else has done. One of the first things we do, besides talking to clients, is a lot of research. Look at a lot of precedents. If we're doing a school, we go, let's look at the best schools in the world. Let's look at what OMA did. Let's look at what Norman Foster did. Let's look at what these guys did and what those guys did and how did they solve the problem. And let's learn from somebody who's already been there. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not trying to win the most inventive project. We're trying to make sure Mahesh is happy. So we don't care if it's inventive. We don't care if it's the first time somebody who's broken ground. Again, none of that matters. I mean, it would be good if it is, and sometimes we end up being the first ones to do something because we have pushed ourselves so much, but that's not the goal. So anyway, I mean, yes, influences come from everywhere. Recently, as in last year, or the year before last, I went to Denmark. Only because somebody took me there, like one of the vendors. They had a factory visit and I went to Denmark. And, I go to America all the time. I go twice or thrice a year. And it's boring to me. I run and come back. But I went to Denmark and, it's, I just walked around the streets in Copenhagen and a couple of other cities. And I was like looking at a lot of things, materials, details, solutions to problems, and I came back thinking, oh, okay, but now every time I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, that detail in Copenhagen, that was cool. So I go and look at the picture I took there and I'm like, oh, that's how they solved it. That's interesting. So yeah, absolutely. I would love, that's why I'm saying I would love, not because I would learn and start applying it, but it's great to travel. For me, it's like, if I had one thing I would love to do is travel a lot.
Is there any country which you would suggest, like where you can get to know more about architecture? And
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of countries do amazing stuff. Like if you go to London, you'll see like some really beautiful historic juxtaposition of new and old. If you go to Singapore, you'll see perfection. You go to Shanghai, you'll see how communism can really kick your ass and make sure a line is straight. You know how fear can make straight lines. If you go to New York, you'll see the power of capitalism and the ambition to build tall. And if you go to China, you go crazy with, you know, growth on steroids. Like it's just everything is Beijing is like scary. Like oh my God, it's huge. So every city, I mean, you go to, I mean, smaller cities like Singapore, you see how attention to detail and crafty. And then you go to Europe and you see how, you know, they are breaking new ground with new materials and new technologies. Everything teaches you something different.
Yeah. So, final point was, if you would like to leave some final words for students who are taking up architecture or who are graduating from architecture, what would it be?
Same thing, I mean, just be yourself, enjoy it, don't do it if you don't enjoy it. You know, life is too short to do something you don't enjoy. But if you really, truly enjoy design and architecture, then I think come to terms with, I mean, I know it's like, it's a bunch of words, come to terms with design, like what does that mean? I don't know how to say it, but I think don't question everything. Question why you like something, question why you don't like something. Find answers that are meaningful. Don't go after the glitz and glamour because they're only skin deep. Try to find the inner meaning of beauty if that's what you're enamored by, or function. Try to solve problems. Try to love what you're doing. Don't be driven by trends because they come and go. Too much of an investment to put into something that will go away so soon. Yeah, get in touch with yourself, really. Understand yourself. Travel, be healthy. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you
Alright, thank you guys.
for adding your knowledge on this.